About 3 years ago, we took a look at the Nissan Navara Pro-4X, and we said that that pickup truck was pretty good. Now that there have been a lot of new pickup trucks that has entered the market and its segment, is the new version of the Nissan Navara, the Calibre-X, which is basically a 4x2 version of Pro-4X, still a good pickup truck in 2025? Well, in this video, let's find out. Since the Nissan Navara Calibre-X is basically just a 4x2 version of the Nissan Navara Pro-4X, you can expect styling to be pretty similar all around. Now, if you look at the front, it has that more sporty bit to it with blacked out grills. You have the Nissan lettering and logo in black and red, and you still do retain your quad beam LED headlamps as well as your DRLs and the fog lights down below. Now, there's even a black garnish here by the bottom, also with like red accents on it, and on the side of the pickup truck you get 17-inch blacked out rims. Now, the reason for this is that they're supposedly going to be a little bit more off-road oriented, right? That's why they give you 17-inch rims with slightly thicker tires compared to if you get the Nissan Navara VL, for example, that will give you 18-inch rims. Now, other things you get here include a little bit more red accents by these like over fenders. You get blacked out wing mirror caps, blacked out door handles, and even a roof rack on top, which is also blacked out. And obviously the sticker at the back, instead of giving you Pro-4X, it says Calibre-X. But yeah, that's about it. Everything else is practically the same. And towards the rear too, biggest difference between this Calibre-X and the Pro-4X is if you open up this tailgate, number one, this tailgate is not assisted, so it's a little bit heavy, and you also don't get a bed liner right here. But now that they've kind of facelifted this vehicle, which will also involve a different interior, by the way, you'll notice that there is this trim piece at the back, which just makes it look a little bit sportier and a little bit less black. That aside, what else you get back here? Well, you get reverse sensors and a reverse camera as well. Powertrain-wise, even for the 2024 or even 2025 model year, everything remains unchanged. What you have here is still that same 2.5-liter turbocharged diesel engine that we saw in the Nissan Navara Pro-4X even 3 years back. This still makes 190 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque, making it not the most highest output engine in its class. But you'll see later on the driving segment my thoughts on this powertrain. Oh, speaking of that powertrain too, yes, the transmission, 7-speed automatic transmission, and in terms of fuel economy, 8 kilometers per liter in the city, heavy city traffic, that is, and 18 kilometers per liter on the highway. Moving inside the Nissan Navara Calibre-X, first we check the door. Not bad. Not bad really. Not great either though. So inside here is the biggest change for this, like some sort of facelift, and that is because you now get a much improved interior, one that would reflect the interior you would get with the Nissan Terra. And the biggest difference is this center screen, which now comes with a 9-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's pretty responsive, and it also has a reverse camera and a 360-degree top-down view camera. Minor complaint I have though, for some reason, I don't know if it's a settings issue or maybe I'm just dumb right here, but the control panel for the CarPlay is on the right side as if it's for a right-hand drive vehicle, just like what you would get with the Toyota Raze or the Toyota Avanza, I believe. So yeah, it just kind of feels a little bit weird for me. Yeah, but you know, that really isn't a deal breaker right there. It still is good overall. The steering wheel still is leather wrapped with red stitching, but you only get tilt adjustments, no telescopic adjustments. You get a small screen for your instrument cluster. You get the pretty well-made feeling materials, even though they are mostly hard touch plastic. And well, you do get some of these like minimally padded soft touch materials by the center of the dashboard too. You get a dual zone climate control that is it's really cold. Typical Nissan. Go down a bit and you have a place which looks like a wireless charging pad, but it's not. It's just a place to put whatever stuff. You get a USB-C port, USB-A port, and 2 more cup holders by the center. A couple of black buttons though, which is kind of sad. The seats though, these are Nissan Zero Gravity seats, and they are still among the best, if not the best in the class. Power adjustable for the driver's side and manually adjustable for the passenger side. In terms of safety, you do get advanced driver assistance systems in here, which does include intelligent emergency braking. You get blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, and you also get 6 airbags in your Nissan Navara Calibre-X. For the rear seats now, door stud check first. Not bad too. So backseat wise, this is probably one of the best, if not the best, pickup truck in its class that you want to be in, because the seats feel really good. Just like the front seats, it's kind of like that, you know, zero gravity marketing, whatever gimmick supposedly. But yeah, it honestly is pretty good. The recline is probably the best, so much better than what you would get with the Ford Ranger, even with the Ford Ranger Raptor. The cushioning on it, I like it too. When you're going longer journeys in this one, this is the place to be. It still is not the best in terms of rear seats, but it is the best in terms of rear seats for its class. Now, legroom is also pretty good. Headroom is also pretty good because of just how boxy the cab is. And you still do get a USB-A port, a USB-C port, and 2 air vents that do benefit from Nissan's cold AC system. So it still is pretty cool here at the back. Now, seating 3 people abreast is also practical because the car, it isn't exactly super narrow, and yeah, the footwell, it's pretty large too, with not much of a transmission tunnel. So now we drive the Nissan Navara Calibre-X, and driving this vehicle is still super comfortable, and this is really where the Nissan Navara shines compared to the rest of its competitors. Because yeah, sure, the Ford Ranger, that's pretty comfortable too, it's pretty refined, but this one, in terms of like the softness of the suspension, in terms of just how much it absorbs the bumps on the road, it still is the best, and nothing will probably change that for the next few years. Now you couple that suspension setup with these zero gravity seats from Nissan, and you are in for a treat. If you are going for a very long drive, I'd probably select this or the Ford Ranger. Those two will probably alternate in terms of my top 1 spot for ride and, you know, comfort in this class for your longer drives. Now, speaking of comfort though, one thing that the Navara does lose out on compared to the Ranger truly is the refinement feel. So in terms of quietness, for example, when you're going at the highway speeds, the Ranger will still be quieter. This one still suffers a little bit from the engine noise and a little bit more wind noise, but other than that, tire noise wise, this is pretty good. It still is pretty quiet in here. Now, for the power inside the Nissan Navara, 190 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque. It honestly isn't the highest in its class. However, this vehicle isn't that heavy. So as you do accelerate this, it really does still hold its own weight. Now, there is one issue though, which I've noticed since the first time we reviewed the Navara Pro-4X, and that is there is some sort of a delay with the transmission. If you try to just mash down the accelerator and it goes past like 3,000 RPM, the transmission has this like weird penchant for not wanting to upshift. So as long as you hold it in between like 2,000 and 3,000 RPM and you wait for the turbo light to kick in and all that, you get lots of power, and it also shifts perfectly for you and puts you in the right gear. Now, that aside, again, the power, really, you will never find it lacking. I took this to Tanay. Well, it isn't exactly as steep, it's not Baguio, but still, it's pretty good. I loaded everything up, it was fully loaded. Everything was more than enough. Next would be the handling, and pickup trucks aren't exactly known to handle the best, right? But this vehicle, the Navara, it really does handle more like a sedan, really, or a crossover. I like it. It doesn't give you too much body roll. It still is stiff enough to keep your meal inside your stomach and not regurgitate it out of your mouth. It's okay. It's really good overall. In terms of the steering too, it's not exactly the lightest, but nor is it the heaviest in its class. So I find it to be just the right weight. And in terms of feedback, yes, there's a slight amount of feedback right here. Not the most, but definitely more than enough too for you to be able to enjoy driving your Nissan Navara. If you took a look at the older video on the Navara Pro-4X, I would complain about the turning radius of the vehicle. Number 1, because it's long, and number 2, perhaps because it's a 4x4, the steering ratio isn't exactly great. Here, I find it to be a little bit better. I don't know if it's just a placebo, but the vehicle seems to turn a little bit tighter now that we have this Calibre-X with a 4x2 powertrain. And this is again something that I usually notice when I go from like the 4x4 to the 4x2 version of a pickup truck or an SUV. The turning radius really does seem to get smaller. Now, for the advanced driver assistance system features that you have in here, well, you don't really have autonomous emergency braking, right? But you do get lane departure warning, you do get intelligent emergency braking, and honestly, those are more than enough. It's not exactly the most relaxing, I would say, but it really does help you if you're kind of just like dozing off or not paying attention. That lane departure warning surely helps a ton. 3 years ago, we said that the Nissan Navara Pro-4X was a good pickup truck. Now in 2025, its 4x2 version, the new trim, the Calibre-X, is no different. It may not be the most refined pickup truck in its class when it comes to quietness and when it comes to tech. But when it comes to just the general feel of the pickup truck, comfort, as well as that ice-cold air conditioning system, and if you factor in the price of 1,630,000 pesos, then if you're someone who gets a Nissan Navara Calibre-X, I think that you'll be very happy as well.